It's really, really hard to become an NFL head coach. Like, incredibly hard. You only have 32 jobs of that ilk in the National Football League. So you've got so many people, so many men that spend their careers, their lives, toiling away in high schools and at colleges of varying levels and semi-pro football, and frankly, even at the NFL level as positional coaches, assistants, coordinators, and so on. It is so rare to be able to position yourself to get to be an NFL head coach. And then even enjoying a little bit of success as an NFL head coach is an even rarer feat. To be really successful as an NFL head coach is incredibly, incredibly rare. And to win a Super Bowl as an NFL head coach, rarer still. So when you're a former NFL head coach that won a Super Bowl, life should be really, really good. Not only did you fulfill a lifelong dream of being able to be a coach on the game's biggest stage, talking about the NFL, but literally also winning a championship on the game's biggest stage, the Super Bowl. You'll always be remembered for winning a championship. You've made more money than you could ever reasonably need. You are set for life. You can go to your city, in this case New Orleans, where you coached for so many years, and you'll never have to buy a drink or pay for a meal again if you really didn't want to. You'll always be a legend. You'll always be a hero. You can sit back, enjoy the fruits of your labor without ever having to do that head coach grind, which we know, you hear the stories over the years of how many hours a day these coaches have to spend toiling away with game planning, with thinking about their teams, with just being embedded in the job. Like, it's a grind. It's a real grind. And when you've retired or quit and you won a Super Bowl, made a bunch of money, you don't have to worry about that crap anymore. And sometimes you can even get paid to do some TV work, like be a studio analyst at Fox. And if you retire at a young enough age, like let's say in your late 50s, which means you're not a spring chicken, but you're not completely over the hill yet as an NFL head coaching candidate, if you are interested in coaching again, teams will always want you. Somebody or several somebodies are going to come knocking on your door because it's hard to find head coaching candidates with real, tangible, credible experience of being an NFL head coach. Even harder to find high-level head coaching candidates that have actually been successful at that job, let alone being a former Super Bowl champion as a head coach. What that affords you, as somebody like Sean Payton, is the ability to have all the leverage in the situation. You can just do studio stuff for Fox. You can enjoy retirement, quasi-retirement, if you will. You don't have to take any job you don't absolutely want to. It's not a need to or a have to. It is entirely a want to type of scenario. You have the leverage, and you can wait for the perfect opportunity. The right team, the right organization, the right roster, the right money, all of that. Which, to me, is what makes Sean Payton's becoming the new Denver Broncos head coach so damn weird. Now, I understand the Denver Broncos wanting to make a big splash here, in part because General Manager George Payton, he already flubbed horrendously with his last hire, Nathaniel Hackett. Dude didn't even make it through one season. So you have to go in a different direction and not go for the guy that wasn't even a play caller at his last job as an offensive coordinator in Green Bay. You go with somebody who was the head coach, who was the head MFer in charge in New Orleans for a decade and a half. You go for a guy that has a career record winning percentage of 63%. You go for that guy that won like 7 division titles, I think it was, in New Orleans. You go for that guy that won a Super Bowl in New Orleans. You have to go make the big splash hire because you have to validate your position as a general manager. You have to sit there and not take such a big risk. It's much less risky to hire a Sean Payton in theory. And it makes sense in the respect with the Broncos because nobody could match Payton's resume in terms of who is realistically available on the head coaching market. Nobody, in theory, is better positioned to save them from the Russell Wilson debacle, and that's exactly what it was this first year. It was a complete and total debacle. You don't give up what you did to go get a 9-time Pro Bowl quarterback to have him come in and not even be able to turn on the damn burner, let alone cook. He absolutely sucked in 2022. And frankly, when you talk about, oh, they gave up some draft picks to bring in Sean Payton, there's a history of that shit working before. See the Buccaneers trading for John Gruden back in 2002. There is some precedent that that's not the worst thing to do. You think about a head coach and how important they are in the grand scheme of things. Trading a first-round pick, another third-round pick or whatever the hell it is, second-round pick, whatever the fuck, it doesn't matter. If he's that dude, you're not really going to care much about the draft picks because he's at least worth that, if not more. But what I'm really struggling with, and this is the part that's weird for me, it's not so weird for the Broncos. I understand their position here. Where it's weird for me is Sean Payton. Why this job at this time? This just feels so odd and off to me. Such a square peg in a round hole type of situation. I understand Denver's defense was elite last year, so that certainly will help you some. You don't have to worry as much about that side of the ball. You have some confidence that, hey, that side of the ball is playoff worthy. That side of the ball may even be championship worthy. It's the offense, you figure, is in your lane of knowledge, your lane of competence and confidence, that if you turn that around quickly to match the defense, then you could be a threat. And I also understand that the other jobs that were open weren't exactly all that appealing either. The Carolina Panthers, the Arizona Cardinals, the Houston Texans, for Sean Payton, that absolutely makes sense why he wouldn't really be interested or go to one of those other places. Because I couldn't see any of them, for different reasons, having any real appeal to Sean Payton, in theory. But why would you want to come to this team, this organization, this roster at this time? Why would you want to come to a division that already has Mahomes and Herbert in place? Why the hell would you want to come to a division where no matter what, current state, you have no better than the third best quarterback in the division, and nothing's going to change that other than maybe Russell Wilson becomes the worst quarterback in the division, depending upon what the Raiders do. Because who knows, they're a wild card here. Do they make a trade for an almost 40-year-old Aaron Rodgers? Well, shit, at this point, he still might be better than freaking Russell Wilson was in 2022. Do they make a big splash to go after a young quarterback? And what happens if that young quarterback that they could draft ends up being a franchise dude? Now you're sitting there with a mid to late 30s Russell Wilson with behind 3 young quarterbacks. You're never going to crack through in the AFC West. Why would you choose the path of most resistance as opposed to the path of least resistance, which is the NFC? Why go to the AFC meat grinder? Just think about this for a second. Outside of just the division where I've already mentioned Mahomes and Herbert, Joe Burrow is in the AFC. Josh Allen is in the AFC. He won a playoff game this year, so I'm going to throw him in there. Trevor Lawrence is in the AFC. At this moment, at least, Lamar Jackson is still in the AFC. And if this guy can return to his previous form of a borderline elite quarterback, Deshaun Watson is still in the AFC. Not to mention there could be 1 or 2 rookie quarterbacks, and one of them could end up being a franchise guy. We're looking at a situation here where the AFC for a number of years could be positioned as the NFL's version, similar to the NBA for years, where the Western Conference was so superior in terms of its depth at the top and in the middle, at the bottom, and just all the way around compared to the Eastern Conference. That was the meat grinder. And you often felt like the Western Conference Finals were the damn NBA Finals. That's what this is going to feel like. So why would you choose to go there? Was the money really any better here than you could have gotten anywhere else? I'd find that hard to believe. Did you get bored with the TV job? Well, then just go home and chill out for a little while longer, I guess. Did you get bored waiting for the Cowboys to fire Mark McCarthy? Maybe, but I don't know, man. Maybe you should have waited. Why would you want to coach Russ after he was so god-awful terrible last season? Why? Why would you also want to coach a quarterback that, to me, feels like a guy that's really a bad fit for your system, that is so predicated on attacking the middle of the field? Why come to a team with a quarterback with that contract, with that poor play in 2022, along with minimal cap space and reduced draft pick capital this year and next year. I'm sorry, I just have a hell of a time trying to figure out what's the play here for Sean Payton. Where is the win? Where does this feel like that this is going to be a successful venture for him? I'm just not seeing it. And I could be totally wrong here. Like, Sean Payton could come in and be a breath of fresh air for the Denver Broncos. And he could be a godsend for Russell Wilson at this stage of his career. But man, oh man, that feels like a whole lot of ifs and buts. As my good friend Tony always used to say, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, it'd be Christmas every day. This is weird. I get the Broncos and what they are doing here and why they did this. Because they felt like they had to give it another chance with Russ, right or wrong. But goddamn. This felt so weird for Sean Payton to take this damn job. I realize maybe you had the itch to get back into it. You were gone a year and you missed it, and you're looking at yourself. You say, hey, I'm about 59 years old. I'm not getting any younger. I want to get back at it now. Have an exit strategy maybe 4 to 6 years down the road. Like, that makes some sense, but you couldn't have waited one more year. Maybe some really good openings would have come up. Because this already was a rough offseason in terms of the head coaching cycle. Ugh. Good luck with this. You're probably going to need it, Sean.